Hi, Cancer.
Welcome to your extended. So let's talk a little bit about excess. Now, December is the accumulation of this year that we've had where you have gained some financial literacy and you've gained some insight for sure into what you should do differently. And you have controlled your emotions somewhat. But the excess that comes as a result of stress, this is excess of spending money, sexual activity, drowning in the humiliation of someone not wanting you, chasing after them, chasing after anything, is where excess comes from. It's that need to fill a hole that can't be filled. And until you learn to look at it that way, it will be a constant hole in your finances. You won't be able to reach a place where you can safely touch ground if there's this constant wound that needs to be bandaged. And the bandage that most Cancerians find is money. Just keep filling that void. See how far you can feed it and see how much of yourself you can hide behind it. There's a lot of stress that comes with this. It's akin to the body constantly feeling attacked. The mind is constantly being asked to make more, do more, be more, to cover something that you may have decided a long time ago nobody can help you with. Now, this Pisces dreamy energy that is the moon, what you're seeing here, this Neptune, Uranus business going on, is how excess is going to reveal, your tendency to excess is going to reveal where these wounds are not healing, where radical change needs to be enacted. There are places and spaces that you're hiding, basically. And in those spaces, there is an excess that only you are privy to. Nobody else knows that you're doing this. Nobody else knows how much you're taking from yourself. Nobody else knows what you're putting yourself through, and nobody else knows how harsh you're being. Some of you have even taken on people to love who are an extension of this masochistic cycle. And that's also coming to bear because you're also realizing late in December, after Jupiter moves into Aries, that this person that you've had this love connection with for so very long, even if they do love you, there is a compassion or a humanity missing that's very troubling. Now, what you do with that information is up to you, but you could use it to venture out into the world and find something better. Chances are it'll upset you and confuse you instead. Because once Cancer decides that this is the person for them, it's very hard for you to move on. But, I think what's harder for you is not moving on from somebody else. It's just harder to choose yourself than it is to do anything else. It's so much easier to choose other people for you, whether it's friends, family, lovers, children, it doesn't matter. It's so hard for you to choose yourself because it feels like everybody else gets left out in the cold if you choose yourself. And what an insanely difficult position to be in as a person. That if you choose yourself, you really do feel like you're neglecting and depriving others, especially people you really, really love. There's a certain type of person who's definitely going to take advantage of that. And at the end of December, you can see it very clearly, and you really need to get the hell away from people like this, or get into a position of power over them so that you're not beholden to them. Either one will work. But trying to incorporate them into your life, whoa, that's a mistake. And any of you who have been consistently and constantly making this mistake are feeling the brunt of that error at the end of December and into January, because it's just such an extreme mistake this person has shown you again and again and again and again, without fail, in every instance that they could. That either they're not trustworthy or they're only trustworthy because they have no options. You have an opportunity in January to say something. But I think what holds you back is how much you put into it. And how much of these cups being filled you don't want to lose. But my question to you is, how much of these cups are being filled to begin with? Or are you just holding on to little drips and drops that you're getting here and there and pretending like they're filling your cups, or pretending like they were even meant to go into the cups? They weren't. You just picked those drips up somewhere and put them in there yourself. Nobody's filling those cups. That's a problem. That's an issue. Because if you were by yourself, then you could fill those cups on your own. That's okay too. But when there's someone that's half in and half out of your life, then you expect someone else to be filling these cups, and they expect you to be filling your own cups. It's none of their fucking business. And then where are we? Nobody's filling the cups. And when nobody's filling the cups, things can get harsh. You can get bitter. You can get angry. You could lose yourself in your work. Nothing wrong with that. You could lose yourself in equanimity and just say fuck it to the whole thing and be like, okay, fine, do what you want. Do what you want. I don't need any of this. I'm going to step back behind the moon, behind emotion, behind the black and white of it, behind the hologram. Fine, do what you want. I'll move forward. And you can. And you can move forward in peace and meditative bliss. You can take what you've learned and go with it. But to do that, you already need to possess really high self-esteem. You need to think very well of yourself. If you know someone who has really high self-esteem and you want to go hang out with them and kind of, bounce this all off them, that's a good idea. But if you mistake high self-esteem for just looking a certain way or, playing the part, yeah, that's, it's a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. It'll look good. But the truth just can never stay hidden. I would say instead of doing all this and then, medicating, self-medicating in private, I think you should just tell people from your heart how it is and how you feel and what's going on. And, don't make this about your ego. If you're dealing with someone who's very into themselves and it's very difficult for you to understand how they just could not care about you, like how can you, with me right here and everything I've meant to you or done for you or whatever it is, how can you just care about yourself only? You're speaking a language they don't understand, especially if they're a Leo or a Virgo. You're speaking a language that they are trying to get away from. You're speaking a language of obligations and responsibilities, and this stuff makes them crazy. And when they feel cornered by the truth, they act out. And when they act out, you're the one that gets hurt. So all that power, don't use it to pretend that everything is fine. Use it to bolster yourself when this happens. It's a much better option. Okay? It's a much, much better option. So now, let's take a look at January and see what happens when you have a little while to, I don't know if you really want to call it like come to terms with it, but there are some realities that you have not necessarily been facing. And the transits coming up next year, there's a couple of them that are very powerful, but let's focus on this Jupiter one. It needs you to face everything. It needs you to face everything pretty quickly. Okay? So we can be very conscious of what we're bringing into our house of work. We don't want to be unconscious or absent-minded. We want to be very purposeful in our choices right now, very deliberate in our choices, okay? Take a deep breath. And let's think about January 2023. This is totally intuitive now, yeah? There's no astrology here. Oh, you can't trust these bitches. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't trust them. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. Don't argue with them. Don't fight with them. This is all, whatever is leaving, whoever is leaving, whatever you're trying to hold on to, whatever has been a total clusterfuck and gone nowhere for however long, let it go. Let it go. That person is going to keep coming up like the Page of Pentacles, because that person, even though his arms are jacked, which I still don't understand, that person will never be more. That person will never, this is a person who never lives up to their potential. It doesn't matter, Cancer, how much you believe in them. You can't believe someone into being a good person, a righteous person, a person that'll be good to you, a person who will give to you instead of take from you. There is lies, there is deceit, there is deception, there is betrayal, there is pain, and it's all surrounding these very deliberate choices that you are making to keep certain people, certain energies in your life, certain choices you keep making, a job you keep going back to, an education you don't want to take, a friend who's bleeding you dry, a significant other or a sometimes partner situationship that's total bullshit. There it is. If it's a Capricorn or an Earth sign, I mean, it's pretty obvious. This person is not a good person. And they've been stringing you along like this for how long? Knowing that you're too good for this. Knowing, completely aware. Not at all in the dark about your value or what you should. See, the funny thing about people is that they'll do stuff to you that they would expect you to not let them do to you. Why would she let me do that to her? She doesn't know any better? She doesn't know she's better than that? I mean, why don't you know better than to not do it? That's a different story. It's not about that. She should know better. Why should she let me treat her like that? This is the question that this Earth sign is asking you. This life ambition that you don't want. This thing your parents put on you, your partner put on you, your siblings put on you, your friends put on you. This thing that has you running in circles that you really don't want to do, but you don't want to let go of it, and you don't want it to let go of you. Codependency. And Mars, here's Mars and Gemini going, yeah. Say it how it really is. Tell this person you don't want to be around them anymore. So if you feel this Earth sign or this energy, whoever it is, getting meaner and meaner, and getting more and more explicit about how they don't want to be around you, they can't even help it. Mars and Gemini can only take so much before it just starts telling the truth in every direction. Then everyone can fucking walk off a cliff. Who cares? And there's a lot of truth to be told here. And what is that truth? That truth is that until we start talking about all this stuff that's being kept in the dark, the way I feel like I've been treated, the things that I've been promised that I'm not getting, until I actually stand up for myself and say something, it's never going to change. And you know what? That was always going to be the case. It was never going to be anything else than that. It was always going to be just like that. It was never going to change until you finally said something. You are not going to get what you want playing the good guy. You're not. It's not going to happen. The squeaky gate gets the oil. You have not been a squeaky gate in so long that I don't think you know how to be. And I don't mean just from this person or this institution or this job, whatever it is, this family. I mean just in general, in your prayers, in your life, from the people around you. You don't ask, so you don't receive. And when you do ask, you ask for everybody else. Ask. But first you have to imagine a life outside of this thing. A life of your own. Remember what I said, don't go looking for somebody else to take cover with right now. Your shell is thin, but in 10 days, it'll be strong again. Don't saddle yourself with people and contracts and commitments that will become, an albatross around your neck in a month. Just because you're scared and you're scrambling in the moment. Don't do that. Get calm. Breathe. Don't make decisions from a busied place. Sit down, sit still, write a little bit, journal a little bit, meditate, pray, listen to some fucking frequencies, smoke some weed, Jesus Christ, whatever. And then think calmly with a pragmatic edge about what you need to do, why and how. Take your emotions out of it. This is not something to have emotions about. This is something to cut out of your life. It's a pattern that exists because at some point in your life, you were taught that it was okay, and it's not. And it bleeds into every other area of your life, no matter what you think. It affects how much money you make. It affects who you can be friends with. It affects where you can go. It affects how you feel about yourself. It affects how you look. It affects how much you eat. Okay? It affects how much you sleep. It affects the brightness of your day. It affects the function of your organs. It affects everything. Yeah? Love you.